I will start this Zoom mainly by congratulating Paula for this wonderful moment, for the wonderful work she has done by putting together the new book. And also, I would like to say that I'm really honored that we could be part of this book launch, and I'm honored that it can be us doing this live Zoom. Thanks for the messages in chat. Pakistan, Bermuda, Philippines, Namibia, Cyprus. Okay, we have many countries, many people. So perfect. Sweden. Good. First, I think everyone knows Paula, so maybe I don't really need to do a big introduction, but a little bit of bio, because I think it is important to say. Paula was a teacher and a head of school at Forest Bluff School for over 25 years. She has given over 100 talks at Forest Bluff and other Montessori schools, teacher training courses, and conferences. Her work focuses on the principles and benefits of Montessori education. She has attended Hampshire College and holds a master's degree in education from Loyola College in Maryland. Her diplomas from AMI go from assistance to infancy through primary, elementary level, and she has also audited the NAMTA and AMI orientation to adolescent studies. She's married to Jim. She has 2 children, adult children, 18 and 20 years. She loves horses. She has 2 poodles, right? She loves nature, hiking, skiing, reading, and laughing with her friends. What did I forget?
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you. I guess I'll add one thing that people get confused about sometimes. And first of all, welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be here. My mother is Paula Polk Lillard, and she's the one who wrote Montessori Modern Approach, Montessori from the Start with my sister Lynn, Montessori in the Classroom, and Montessori Today. So that's Paula Polk Lillard, my mother, who I think is here today. She's 91, and my father. And my sister, Lynn Jessen, helped to found Forest Bluff School and is very active in Montessori. And my sister, Angeline Lillard, is the researcher. So she's the one who does a lot of research on Montessori from the University of Virginia. So there are several of us in the family, and I always love to try to help people to sort that out so they know who's who.
Perfect. Thanks. That's important to say as well. About the book, I think it would be best if I share my screen, and actually I will show you some of the reviews that the book already got. And let me do it now like this. First, maybe most of you have already seen the back cover of the book. So we have the front cover, the Montessori Potential. You all know it. You have seen it. It was in the invites. We have been sharing it. And let me share some of the texts from the back of the book. Let's start maybe with Michael Thompson and his words. In her passionate and beautifully written new book, Paula Lillard Preschlack explores not only the potential of the Montessori approach, but also the potential of children to grow into fully engaged and joyous learners. In a time when we see children as fragile and in constant need of our anxious supervision, Preschlack sees them as independent, adaptable, and resilient. Educators and parents and politicians need to read the Montessori Potential to remind themselves of what children can do if we create learning environments for them that unlock their strength. That's a nice one. And it's not from a Montessorian. Let me share more. What about Carolina Montessori? Paula Lillard Preschlack explains in great detail what the authentic Montessori approach to education is and how it should be implemented. Or Nora Flood, this is the most comprehensive book I have read that illustrates the history of, framework for, and power of the Montessori approach. Preschlack's writing has helped me understand and in turn articulate why every child deserves a Montessori education. Paula, how do you feel when I read all these nice words about your book?
Oh, just so complimented and so encouraged, because I don't think of it so much as being about me, but being about the book itself. And I want so much for people to read it and for these words to get out to people. So it makes me really happy to see it recognized in that way. And so thank you. Thank you for reading those.
Today, we will be talking a lot about the book, but we will also take questions from the audience. We will also cover some of the questions that you have sent when you were registering. And we will also come to the point where we will share with you, where you can buy the book, or even, when you come from other countries with other languages, where you can actually find information, maybe you would like to translate the book to your language. So we will get into all of these. We will also give Paula some time to read some passages from the book and get us more excited to buy it, since, today is the launch. And we will also talk about, some of the chapters of the book, and Paula will tell us a little bit in detail about what the book is about. Maybe we can start with that. Paula, what do you think?
Sure. I could read the first page to help people get oriented.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll do that. I have my puppy is right next to me here. She seems to know something important is happening. She's right next to me. All right, I'm going to read from the introduction, which is called "What Should Education Be?" So I really wanted to start everybody off with a big overview and then bring it down to the detail. Our children face unprecedented rates of change and an uncertain future. Rather than be paralyzed by anxiety, this next generation needs to adapt. For this, they must develop necessary skills, knowledge, and traits. On this quest, education plays a vital role. When I ask parents, educators, employers, and business leaders what abilities children need for the future, they tell me that children will need to think creatively, to innovate, to collaborate, and to solve problems effectively. They give descriptive words like persistent, resilient, confident, compassionate, and intellectually curious. People recognize that young adults need to cultivate their abilities to learn new things, to view failures as learning opportunities, and to persevere with lifelong passions. In essence, the next generation needs to foster their adaptability for anything that comes their way. Considering this reality, we must ask ourselves whether the current educational system helps children, and if so, how? If grades and scores drive progress in our schools, how do children learn not to fear failures? When children are stopped mid-thought to leave one subject of study and change to another every 50 minutes or so, how do they develop focus and get deeply engaged? If units of study end after 6 weeks and students cannot dive deeper into a subject, how can they pursue their curiosity, develop passions, and practice the courage to persevere? If they are restricted from interacting during class time and taught to compete with each other, to be winners, how can children learn to truly collaborate? And after they are told what information to acquire and when and where to apply it, how can children develop creativity, independence, and resourcefulness? If such traits are the goals of education, then schools are failing. So I wanted to start people off with thinking about why these things are so important, what is so important, and then use the book to explain how Montessori actually helps children to develop the very traits that are going to help them for the future, and why Montessori is really the answer for this. So when we look into what makes Montessori so different, it is the paradigm, I call it, of looking at the child as an active learner, as a being who forms themselves. And Maria Montessori discovered this by watching children. And you see the infant, and they're putting everything in their mouths, and they're exploring, and they're touching everything, and children move. And this is how human beings learn. We explore our environments, and we try things. And this is how we learn. So if she, as you know, called this self-formation. And if we take this paradigm that the child forms themselves, they are not an empty vessel to be filled with information. They are not something that adults mold. Then we have 3 things that become very important. The first is a prepared environment, which Maria Montessori showed us, that the environment becomes incredibly important if the child is forming themselves by interacting with it. So the prepared environment is very, very important. The second is the adult, that the adult is the one who connects the child to the environment by showing them certain things, and we model behaviors for the children. So the adult is the second very, very important thing. And the third is a balance of freedoms and responsibilities. So choices and boundaries. And that balance is where a lot of that growth towards independence and responsibility happens. So those 3 main themes, I call them pillars in Montessori, 3 main pillars. And I think that helps parents to wrap their heads around what Montessori is. And we can break it down and point it towards those 3 pillars in many of our conversations. And that really helps people to understand it. But that's a big theme in the book to help people. And another is that I thought about the character traits that I see in Montessori graduates over the years. And I thought about where and how I see those traits being developed and fostered in Montessori classrooms, no matter what the age of the children. And I came up with 8, and there are many more than 8 characteristics that people develop in Montessori, of course, but these were 8 that kept coming back to me. And they are engagement, focus, organization, curiosity, courage, collaboration, respect, and resourcefulness. So by giving the reader 8 traits to think about, I then thread those 8 traits all through the book so that in all the anecdotes and all the stories and all the points I'm making about Montessori, these words keep coming up so that people can really connect that something is really happening here. Montessori is not some philosophy, some fantasy, some idea. It's very, very tangible, and you actually see these traits developing And I would be hard pressed to say where they develop in a conventional school system. So I point that out throughout the book. And if somebody gets the bookmark from me, where you can order the book on the front, the back has the 8 traits on it, so that a person reading the book could actually have them right there with them while they're reading. So those are 2 themes I wanted to talk about right away, Lucy, and just tell people, this gives people a little introduction into the book.
And I will try to keep asking you the questions about the book and about your writing of the book. And my first, and I think most important question is, why did you write this book? What was the motivation?
Yeah. Well, I thought about it for many years, about how often people talk about how disappointed they are with education, how frustrated they might be, how much they feel that something isn't right, but they have these misconceptions about Montessori. So you start to tell them, well, Montessori actually really does these things, and they often have a misconception. So I wanted to get outside the Montessori community and to the lay person, to anybody, and be able to help them to understand Montessori, intrigue them to want to find out more about it, and to really show why authentic Montessori is so powerful. And in doing that, I had to point out that Montessori, the name Montessori, can be used without somebody getting training or really following the principles of Montessori. And we know this is an issue that we have. It's an issue that Maria Montessori had from the very beginning. As soon as she started giving her lectures and teaching teachers and telling people about it, so many people misunderstood what she was saying, or misunderstood what she meant, or rushed off to start implementing these ideas without truly understanding how to do it. And so that has been a frustration from the beginning. So I wanted to make it really clear, and wanted to make it really clear what the differences are in Montessori, but also be positive about the fact that any Montessori-like work that people are doing is a step in the right direction. So rather than discouraging some schools or people from feeling that they should embark on a Montessori journey, or that their journey isn't valid in some way, I really want to set the tone that anybody who cares about Montessori and is interested in it and would like to use the name Montessori, we all want to help each other and to keep working towards authentic Montessori, because the closer we get to her writing and the further in depth we get with our understanding of how to implement it, the better the results. And the more powerful the results, the better for children and the better for all of us. So I wanted to make that a very positive theme.